I'm going to go ahead and call the assembly meeting together. It is 6 p.m. This is a regular meeting for Tuesday, April 4th, 2023.
Assembly meeting together. It is 6 p.m.
I will. Tim Hale, are you on the phone?
Tuesday, April 4th, 2023.
Stephanie Nowers, are you on the phone?
I will. Tim Hale, are you on the
Dee
phone?
McKee. Robert Dent, are you on the phone? I mean, oh, thank you.
Dee McKee.
Moki 2.
Robert Yent, are you on the phone?
Dimitri Pano.
Right here.
Ron Bernier, are you on the phone?
Thank you. Moki 2.
Here.
Thank you. You do have a quorum, Madam Mayor.
Dimitri Pano.
Right here.
Are there any changes to the agenda?
Here.
Thank you.
This is Rob. I would like to put one item from the agenda, if that's okay.
Sure, go ahead, sir.
Under introductions, it's ordinance 23-002. And the staff and I have been listening to all the amazing comments from the planning commission meetings. And Moki and I would like to make some changes that we feel like would be better for everybody. And we want to make sure we get this correct. So we'd like to pull it for now and bring it back in the future.
Okay. Ready?
That is ordinance 23002 under introductions on page 6.
Is there any other changes? Okay, hearing none, and the agenda is approved as presented. Will you please rise, and I ask David from N-Star if he'll lead us in the pledge, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So next on our agenda, we do have some proclamations, so I'm going to come down on the floor. So this is a proclamation that comes from the office. Well, I have to realize that I'm on this gentleman that night, but I think, yeah. So anyway, so we get a little bit more free. Anyway, whereas each year Alaska underground utility infrastructure is jeopardized by unintentional death. And whereas the 811 phone number was designated as the national call before you dig number in 2005, and it's still an active number. It's a free service throughout Alaska that dispatches utilities to locate lines at the subject property. And whereas placing a call to 811 at least 2 business days before digging, inspecting the marked lines, and digging with care greatly reduces the risk of hitting a utility line. And whereas April is naturally recognized as Safe Digging Month and serves to promote public awareness about the importance of calling 811 before you dig. And whereas the rate at which Alaskans hit the utility lines is 3 times greater than the national average, thus the local and statewide efforts are necessary to bring an increased awareness to be aware of calling 811. Now therefore I, Edna Reese, Mayor of the Mat-Su Borough, do hereby proclaim and pronounce April 2023 as Safe Digging Month. In furtherance of this proclamation, I urge all residents of the borough to spread awareness about safe digging practices and always call 811 2 days before digging.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to remind everybody, in the borough, we average about 80 damages a year out here in the borough. I looked at our data for locates. Good job to our residents here and contractors and homeowners. I think in 2014 we had about 8,000 locates, and last year we had a record out here with 12,000 contractors and homeowners called for locates. Unfortunately, out of those, about 25 to 40% on average are hit without locates. So, let your friends, neighbors, and just want to thank the assembly for their time today and the commission. Have a great evening.
So the next on our agenda is we're going to honor some outstanding youth in Valley. And so we're going to acknowledge some Eagle Scouts. So you want to come? You know, you stand here or stand there, wherever you like. So. Sure. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
My name is. Hello? Oh, there we go. My name is Russ Ingram, and I'm with the Boy Scouts of America, and I live here in the Valley. And I serve as on the board of directors as the vice president for membership for Boy Scouts. This is Robert Wilson. Robert Wilson, he's a busy guy. He's the committee chairman for Pack Troop and Crew 395, and also serves as the assistant chairman of advancement for the Scouts in the Valley for BSA. I wanted to read something. Something that the young men well, the young lady too, that's in our group, but she isn't here now. It's something that they all have subscribed to. And the mission of the Boy Scouts of America is to prepare young people to make ethical and moral choices over their lifetimes by instilling in them the values of the Scout oath and law. And these young men have done that. They live the Scout oath and law every day. I know they do because I've served on their board of review when they got their Eagle Scout. And they had to answer that question honestly before 4 other adults that were Scout leaders here in the Valley. And every one of them answered in the affirmative. I don't know if you guys know what that means. It means they subscribe to a code of ethics, a code of life, and they live that to the fullest. And it influences every decision they make. One of the charges that we give these young men when they become Eagle Scouts is you're not just an Eagle Scout on the day that you receive it, you're an Eagle Scout for the rest of your life. And as an Eagle Scout, people will look at you in a different light. And they want you, and they know you will make the right decisions. And we're proud of these guys, proud of these kids, and what they've done. And what I'd like to do is, Ethan. Ethan's going to lead us in the Scout oath.
Please.
Scout. Do my best to do my duty without any affection. Please stop that other people at all times, that you have to take the side of the middle of
Uh-huh. As Robert reads the list, we do have a certificate. Some of the scouts are not here this evening. They're off to college or off working and doing their life. But we do want to honor them and at least read their name to be put on the record. So, at least I would try it. Okay. Mhm.
Backus?
Backus?
Hayden? Westland? Hayden Dufresne? Ethan Holt? Hayden Malone? Sorry, Bryson Lee? Christopher Williams? What you got now? Zachary Wardell? Jonathan Story? Aurora. I'm not good with that. With her last name, I'm very sorry. Solar? So, yeah, as the mayor pointed out, a lot of these scouts are out in life doing things, college, military, out on mission trips. Some of them have already joined the workforce. Unfortunately, they weren't able to be here with us tonight. So we'll put these two down.
Okay.
The lady over here in the scout uniform, her name is Danielle Schauer, and she's representing the council tonight. And she's the director of development for the council. Her name is Danielle Schauer.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Do we have any of the adults that are here? Do we have any past Eagle Scouts?
I need you guys to keep moving.
All right. Any of Oli? Are you past Eagle Scout?
Keep moving.
All right,
In
great.
front of each other.
Oh.
I just want to say that I taught Zach Riedel in sixth grade, and I'm not surprised he's a scout.
Thank you. Well, you never know what kind of surprises you're going to have, right? So, Scouts, I don't know from the year he probably doesn't want to tell us. Yeah, what can you tell me what year, please? You were all right. So. The next item on our agenda is the minutes from our preceding meeting, which was a joint Assembly and Planning Commission meeting on the 14th of March of 23. Are there any changes to these minutes as they were presented? Hearing none, the minutes are approved as presented. The next item we have is reports from the cities. Let's see if there are any names. Oh, we left him off too early. The next thing was a report from the school district. We should have reported, we should put Olin on the hot seat to do a report from the school district. Okay, Todd, would you like to do a report from the state of Alaska for us, please? Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the Assembly, constituents, staff. I think if the governor was here, he would not go any further before he said congratulations to those Eagle Scouts and actually all the scouts and the volunteers in general. It's a great program that fosters leadership, social and community involvement, and so thanks to all the kids who work hard to be scouts, and also the adults who help them to be people of honor and servants in the community. I don't have a whole lot to report. I think I believe the House was trying to finish up the budget today. I'm not sure if they did that, but it is I think kind of neat to see that there are members of the Valley delegation who are in leadership positions in the House. Representative Johnson in the Finance Committee, and then Speaker Tilton. They are doing a good job of trying to get through the budget in a timely manner. And it's nice to see members of the Valley delegation in leadership position, and that the budget is moving along well in the House under their leadership. Some of the governor's legislation, the carbon legislation is moving pretty well. I know there are some people who still have a lot of concerns about that. I would point out that in mid-April, there should be a community meeting hosted by the Wasilla Chamber, and Commissioner Boyle is scheduled to be there either in person or virtually. So be looking for that. It's an opportunity for people to come and hear more about the carbon legislation. The other pieces of the key legislation that the governor has filed are the People First legislation related to sex trafficking and civil penalties for fentanyl, deaths caused by fentanyl. Those pieces are moving in the House, but not moving in the Senate. And then the other are moving in the House, but not moving in the Senate. And then the other key pieces are his education legislation, HB 105, which is the parental rights legislation, has had a few hearings in the House, but is not moving very much, and probably not expected to do very well in the Senate, although it is interesting that legislation, which is just gives parents more, ability to work with schools on what's being taught, and ensuring their rights is having a difficult time in the legislature, and I think that's unfortunate. I don't know if you have any questions for me. I'm still trying to answer Assemblymember Nauer's question about DOT projects. I did hear today that the Bogard Engstrom has been delayed until 25, I guess, is the startup, which is later than it was supposed to, and I should have more information pretty soon about why that is. But I don't have anything else. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take them.
So, yes, Assemblyperson McKee, go ahead. House Bill 105, and you mentioned they're having a difficult time with it. Can you tell me what the thrust, what's majorly difficult about approving that?
Well, was that Senator Stoltz laughing in the back? It's a great question.
we were very careful to put that legislation together so that it really wasn't attacking any particular group. It is designed to strengthen the rights that parents already have, federal rights as well as state rights to have a transparency within the curriculum that's being taught, and also to have more authority over withdrawing their students, their children from things like sexual education curriculum and things like that. That has already existed. It existed at the federal level in 1978, but in 2016, an opt-out provision was put in Alaska statute. What HB 105 does is it requires an opt-in for that, for certain sensitive type curriculum. There were some other
that would be allowed. There would be no prohibitions on that, but the requirement would be that if there was no fear of neglect or abuse by a parent, that the school first contact the parent and have a conversation with the parent about what they would want to happen as far as that goes. Also, protection for students within bathrooms and locker rooms. So that,
for example, if a child for students within bathrooms and locker rooms, so that there would either be single-use facilities or students would use bathroom and locker room facilities based on their biological sex, which we see as a public safety issue. I think school districts also see it that way, and sometimes it's very complicated when, say, an older male student might be using the same facility as younger female students because they are identifying as a different gender. So we see this as very common sense legislation, but it's not getting the support right now by the legislature that we hope that it would.
Thank you for the explanation. I read Governor Dunleavy's column the other day in the paper. As a teacher, a mother, grandparent, I'm saying it's not to like. It makes sense to me, so good on you.
Further questions from community assembly members? Anybody online have a question?
The next item on our agenda is committee reports. And I don't believe there was,
All right, thank you.
General Assembly and School Board
The next item on our agenda.
Meeting with the school board, but not the committee meeting. Are there any public relations reports?
I just want to mention that I've been working together with Mayor and also have contacted a friend Matt that I went to school with named Ryan Whittaker, who ended up doing something for later on this year. And then for 25 years, and it's very good conversation. And
Committee reports, and I don't believe there was joint assembly and school board committee. We did
for Borough this year. I've known him for 25 years, and it was a very enjoyable conversation. And in 2 weeks from now, on the 18th, we'll be honoring him.
And I really strongly encourage let families who have kids in their life who want to practice opportunity. It'll be a great opportunity for a community event, and he's excited about it too. So by us showing up and being good, we'll also show appreciation from our side and the commission after the team and we work together, we're working on a couple other things to do, so it's going to be a really nice event, and I think it's really enjoy it.
Any other public relations reports?
Nothing other than we have a one-page budget memo from the chief's office and questions, concerns, please contact the director.
I also handed out my budget earlier that was sitting in front of you for the people that aren't here. They're in the mail. The memo 2-page memo. If you read that, it tells you all the changes, all the backup documentation is also attached should you need it. It is that time of year again to schedule the manager, attorney, and clerk evaluations. We do these generally at 4 p.m. before a regular meeting. And can I suggest May 16th for the manager at 4 p.m.? And then June 6th at 4 p.m. before the regular meeting for the attorney. And then June 20th at 4 p.m. for the clerk. May 16th for the manager at 4 p.m. June 6th at 4 p.m. for the attorney. And June 20th at 4 p.m. for the clerk. And then for the April 6th meeting on Thursday, it does not appear that we have a quorum of the assembly that will be here. So I would like to suggest a new date for the departmental budget presentations, April 11th, which is next Tuesday at 6 p.m.
Anybody not going to be able to be there to do things right?
This is instead of the
Correct. Correct. We heard from 4 assembly members that they would not be present. April 11th, next Tuesday at 6 p.m.
So Thursday's meeting at 10 would be canceled. Any comments from those online?
That works well for me, this is Rob.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it works much better for me as well. It's after my work hours.
Okay. And just for the audience as well as those for listening, if you were wondering about the extra meetings for the review of the clerk and the manager and the attorney, those are 3 positions that are directly accountable to the assembly. So they are the 3 contracted employees that the assembly has, and we do an annual review of them. And at that time, on those dates that were given, and they will be publicized, advertised, so you'll know what's going on. And they will have the choice of either having it in public or in executive session. Last year, they were all in executive session, but that will be a determination that will be made when it comes to those things. But that's why, we're starting the budget, so if we're gonna demote them and save some money, or we're gonna give them some more money and spend some more money, then that it fits into the budget. So just a little bit of education. The next item on our agenda is citizens and other correspondence. Are there any comments on these citizens or other correspondence? Hearing none, then they are presented. We do not have any information memos or items. We do not have any people to be heard. Now we are at the public hearing.
Ordinance 23012, an ordinance accepting and appropriating $592,000 from the Alaska State Department of Fish and Game Sustainable Salmon Fund for Nicholson and Linda Lakes fish passage improvements with the company resolution 2314. The resolution approving the scope of work and budget and authorizing the manager to enter into an agreement with the Alaska State Department of Fish and Game for Nicholson and Linda Lakes fish passage improvements beyond the phone. Would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Student on staff. Before you is an accept and appropriate or grant funds in the amount of $592,000. This this passage going on, so has a gas requirement of $7,000. Any questions of staff? Thank you. Now, open the public hearing. We don't really have a sign-up sheet. So at this time, the audience is welcome online as well as in person. But the testimony at this time will only be on ordinance 23-012 and resolution 23-014. We normally have a sign-up sheet, but and nobody has signed up, but even if you didn't, you're still welcome to address the assembly on either that ordinance or that resolution. Yes. Long ways.
My name's Lee Johnson. I'd like to find out what this ordinance is.
45 minutes early with a couple of these lead dogs. We're gonna have an option.
Long ways.
Howdy, my name's Dave Johnson. I'd like to find out what this ordinance is gonna do with this, what are they gonna get for that money?
Okay. Cheyenne, or
What are they gonna do to lakes?
This money is for fish passage, so it's.
Yeah.
For these two projects.
Through the mayor to the assembly, Cheyenne Heinkel, finance director. This money is for fish passage, so it's the improvement of fish passages for these two road projects.
Is that where the road crosses, what you're talking about? Fish passage. I know it's kind of shallow, but it's a couple of places, but I know what it's saying.
Okay.
Good Mayor, Tom Adams, Public Works Director. So to address the gentleman's question, so as many of you are aware, the fishing agencies actually prioritize our culverts that are detrimental to fish passage, and they prioritize these two. So these are next up on the list per se. So we haven't started any design work, but all those sensitivities they just said about shallowness of the barrier will be considered.
Anyone else that would like to testify
What are
on
you
this
fixing
ordinance or
from here
resolution?
across if we do this?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else that would like to testify on this ordinance or resolution?
So go ahead and close the public hearing.
Seeing no one. Do we have anybody online, Kenneth? We do not. Okay, so I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and assembly person two.
I move to adopt ordinance 23-012
Is he, I thought,
and resolution 23-014.
go ahead, sir.
I move to adopt ordinance.
Is there any objection?
Strange.
Hearing no objection, the legislation passes.
Ordinance 23-018, ordinance purchasing approximately 0.99 acres of land located on East Turner Road in the amount of $55,000 and to clarify that the property classify the property as reserve use emergency service facility for use by the Department of Emergency Services for the existing Palmer Bishop Public Safety Building Station 3-5 from Fulton to Matanuska-Susitna, press star 3.
Sure. Go ahead.
The fire station along the Palmer Bishop Station 3-5 is in the active pass. That fire station was built on the land 50 years ago, was given to us with the option to purchase the land. We're at the point of we're going to do some, that station needs some upgrades. And before we do the upgrades, we want to make sure that we're going to be able to own it and own the land. So what this does is work with the owner of the land, through our land management department, and then authorize us to purchase that land prior to doing the upgrades.
Question of staff? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Is that the fire station that's on that road from Turner and Palmer, which Russell, the Palmer, which over there?
Through the mayor, someone on Moki, that is correct, that is the fire station there. It's one of our busy areas right there, so it'd be good to keep that property and also.
So what exactly was it? Because I was thinking the one on over by what used to be left.
Through the mayor, someone, he knows not. It's on Paul Bishop And right before you get to the T, before you guys go right or left there, it's on the right-hand side of the tunnel.
Any questions of staff? We'll go ahead and open the public hearing for ordinance 23-018. Testify if you do not. So I'll go ahead and close the public hearing on ordinance 23-018.
Again. I move to adopt ordinance 23-018.
Okay, is there any discussion? Is there any objection? Hearing no objection, the legislation passes.
Ordinance 2320, an ordinance approving an appropriation of $833,627 from the area fund balance for bridge and railroad crossing major maintenance and repair and the dust control program with company resolution 2329, a resolution amending the budgets for the Cache Whitman Trail Grade Crossing Panel Upgrade Project and the Lynx Lake Grade Crossing Panel Upgrade Project. If you're on the phone, would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Through the mayor to the assembly. This is an appropriation of $833,627 of additional vehicle registration taxes that were collected in fiscal year 22. And part of the ordinance that created this project, and any extra funding that we received will be dedicated to this project. So with this ordinance, we're moving that money from fund balance and placing it into the project account, and then also presenting forward a resolution to set the scope of work and budget for two projects that were created via AM, but the resolution for the scope of work and project were not included at that time, and so we're collecting that at this time. Questions of staff? Yeah, some questions, people have?
How much money is left in the clean air fund?
I would have to get back with you for that answer. I don't have that. If I don't have that, I'll do that now. I'll email you tomorrow.
Is your feeling that this is half the budget, or is there a feeling very much?
Through the mayor to Assembly Member Hughes, this is a reconciliation as of 6/30/2022. We will do a reconciliation again for any excess money that was collected in fiscal year 23, which is what we're in right now. But I don't know what the project balance is. Any other questions of staff? Okay. So I'll go ahead and open the public hearing now on ordinance 23-020. Again, we do not have anyone signed up. You can testify if you would like. Okay, we don't do anybody, we do not have anybody online. So I'll go ahead and close the public hearing on ordinance 23-020.
I move to adopt ordinance 23-020 and resolution 23-029.
Is there some discussion? Okay, is there any objection? If there is no objection, then legislation passes.
Ordinance 23021, an ordinance reappropriating $500,000 from the Community Transportation Grant Match Project to the Parks and Recreation Project for the Government Peak Recreational Area Overflow Parking Lot. Around the phone, would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Through the mayor to the assembly, Cheyenne, I'm the finance director. This legislation before you actually completes an action that was done in November. We previously passed ordinance 22-123. At that time, Assembly Member Sumner made an amendment to the resolution. The ordinance accompanying it is not amended. This is what this legislation does. Okay, I will now open the public hearing on ordinance 23-021. They're not keeping you very busy back there. So. And then I'll close the public hearing.
All right, I move to adopt ordinance 23 021.
Discussion. Any objection? And the legislation passes.
Ordinance 2322, an ordinance accepting and appropriating $306,900 in the fiscal year 2023 Community Assistance Program supplemental funding for the company resolution 2330, a resolution approving the scope of the budget for the fiscal year 2023 Community Assistance Program supplemental funding and authorizing the manager to enter an agreement with the 20 unincorporated communities within the borough. If you're on the phone, speak to this, press star 3.
We mayor to the assembly. This legislation recognizes that we were awarded $206,900 in additional funding for community assistance. That equates to $15,345 per council that is approved by the state in the previous legislation.
Questions to staff? Thank you. And then I'll open the public hearing on ordinance 23-022 and resolution 23-030. Testifying on this ordinance or this resolution? Thank you. Close the public hearing.
I move to adopt ordinance 23-022 and resolution 23-030.
Discussion? Any objection? If there is no objection, the legislation passes.
Ordinance 23025, an ordinance reappropriating $141,095.89 from the Big Lake Boat Launch Project for the Sunshine Creek Road Completion Project with the company resolution 2332, a resolution approving the amended scope of work and budget for the Sunshine Creek Road Completion Project. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Good evening, to the mayor. Ordinance 23025 basically is moving funds from one of our projects to another project. There's some funds left in both the Big Lake Boat Launch Project and the Sunshine Creek Campground Project, but not enough to fully complete each of those projects. In the case of Big Lake, we got the boat launch repairs done. However, there's not enough in the funds to complete the parking lot expansion. In the case of Sunshine Creek, we got the campground repairs done, but the roads rather degraded over the last couple of years. And as it's more of a safety matter, folks getting in and out of it, we're proposing moving the remaining Big Lake Boat Launch parking lot funds over in the Sunshine Creek so we can at least have one project fully completed and not hanging out there for each few years.
Questions from staff? Yes, somebody is included in it.
And just out of curiosity, how did the Big Lake folks feel about not getting what we thought we can get?
Well, as I said, the main issue was the launch itself. The boats were trailers were driving and the launch, and we did get that fixed. That couldn't be consumed at all. We have attempted to get additional funds, for the boat launch. But haven't been successful. And as a rule, community manager will send the assembly like to see project funds in the round language and not meetings. So at least I can complete one project completely if this is
Further questions from staff? Yes.
How much money on the other project that you said that
on Sunshine Creek?
Yeah.
I believe there's approximately $120,000 left there.
120,000 and the halfway on this one.
Yeah.
And how much was the parking lot expansion? No, boat launch was
some that completed, but there was a additional that didn't.
I don't recall off the top of my head, I just know that our project manager told us they don't have enough money to complete the project. So we were unsuccessful in getting extra funds in the last few years. So we decided to address the safety issue out there. There's something to put in there.
And both of these, if we move time point, tell us what they're on, would that be enough to complete that road?
Is the time for
Okay, so that way we don't move on to them. It's still not enough.
I'm not going to say that's never happened, but I'm confident that we can complete the project.
Further questions? Yes, Assemblyperson McKee. So if the one costs $120,000, but $129,000 lying around with the house with the balance, what's that?
Well, the 141 would be combined with the 120 to complete the road repairs or something. And then whatever's not used, just wouldn't be used. Roll out.
Any other questions of staff? I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 23-025 and resolution 23-032. So anyone that would like to testify on these?
I move to adopt ordinance 23-025 and resolution 23-032.
Discussion? Yes.
I would just like to talk about the boat launch there in Big Lake. They did do the upgrade on the launch itself, and it's a lot better now. And the parking lot that they have there, it's all paved. It's 100% paved parking lot. And what they're talking about doing is expanding it to big more. So it's actually a pretty nice facility now. So just like
Okay, thank you. Further discussion by these members? Is there any objection to this legislation? No. Hearing none, then the legislation passes. Okay.
Ordinance 2327, an ordinance accepting and appropriating 2022 January Matsu windstorm disaster relief monies in the amount of $6,682.50 from the Federal Emergency Management Agency and $2,227.50 from the Alaska State Division of Homeland Security with accompanying resolution 2334. A resolution approving the scope of work and budget for fire station repairs caused by the 2022 January windstorms disaster. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Through the mayor to the assembly, showing how the finance director. This is an accepting appropriate $8,910 for repairs to 2 fire stations, one for the installation of the opener, and the other to replace a damaged door due to the disaster. Questions to staff? Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing then on ordinance 23-027 and resolution 23-034. So anyone that would like to testify on this ordinance or resolution? Anybody in line? So I'll close the public hearing. Is there any discussion by the assembly?
I move to adopt ordinance 23-027 and resolution 23-034.
Discussion. Any objection? Hearing no objection, the legislation passes.
Ordinance 23030, an ordinance amending MSB 2.71 to prohibit borough officials from taking action related to contracts involving current or prior employees. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the Assembly,
staff report where I directed this for something under two. This ordinance before you will amend the ethics code such that an employee, elected official, or appointed official cannot manage or oversee a borough contract involving the official's either current or former employer unless a period of 2 years has passed. These changes address two issues. First, boards and commissions that are advisory to the borough. For people in that situation, the code provision would prohibit a board member from taking action, including rendering advice, with respect to a non-borough employer official. So people who are on advisory boards often have day jobs. If your day job is to work for a contractor that the board is overseeing or commenting on, this code would say you have to step away from that. That's an issue of loyalty. The second half is there are times when borough employees are hired from private industry and come to work for the government, come to work for the borough, and because of their experience, familiarity, or talent in the field. But upon accepting employment for the borough, there would be a separation from their prior employer for a period of 2 years that they can't manage a contract, oversee a contract with respect to their prior employer. So if you came to work for the borough as an ABC company, you did not then immediately be the contract manager for ABC's work that they're doing for the borough. It was drafted at the request of someone number two. I think that I summarized it here.
Questions? We'll then open the public hearing on ordinance 22-030. Anyone like to testify on this ordinance? No? So I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Assemblyperson two.
I move to adopt ordinance 23-030.
Discussion by the assembly?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
I just, this seemed like a pretty common sense legislation. The one hesitation I had is we have trouble getting people, and if the 2 years seems like a long time for to require separation from a company, and I think if you leave the borough for a year before you can do, if I'm remembering that right, to come back to the borough. So I'd just like to offer a friendly amendment to change that 2 years to 1 year for being able to supervise contracts to a former employer.
Okay. So we have an amendment on the floor to change the 2 years to 1 year. Discussion on that amendment? Yeah. Some person who go ahead.
I agree.
Okay.
I think 2 years.
Okay. Further discussion?
I guess you can make that for me. And those 2 years both ways, whether somebody is holding a position here in the borough and goes for a private contractor, or only if the contract with somebody who works for a contractor comes to work for the contractors.
Yes, if the current rules in the ethics code prohibit somebody from leaving borough employment to go work for a contractor and then coming back and working for the borough, that restriction is already there, and that's 1 year. This is the opposite. This is where we hire somebody from private industry to come and work for the borough. There's currently no, it's not addressed in our code, and this would put that in. And that would be 2 years.
Would the that's only if they're coming to work for borough and managing that specific project, or
managing that specific contract. So again, if I worked in private industry, for again XYZ law firm, and I came to work for the borough as a borough attorney for a period of 2 years, I could not then oversee the work that law firm is doing. I have to have somebody else do it, manage it, or somebody else would have to manage that contract.
This is Rob, may I?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
I was just going to say, more than likely, if this were to occur, it's going to be either in the legal department or it's going to be with the road superintendents. A lot of superintendent level employees have, just working for the private sector, good news is we have 3 of them. I really don't think 2 years is very long. And I agree. I think it's best that they not be supervising contracts and contractors that they've recently worked for. If they left, I mean, there could be a lot of reasons why they leave, but it's just, they're not. So, I was going to offer an amendment to make it 3 years, but I'm going to hold back on that because, if the sponsor of the legislation is comfortable with 2, then I'll just stay there. But I do, in the spirit of the legislation, I think it's a good idea to not have it happening, and I'm comfortable with the way it is now. As they're comfortable with the ordinance as the course, I should say. I apologize. So, thank you.
And the amendment is to change the ordinance from 2 years to 1 year. That's what the amendment is. So further discussion on the amendment.
A question, if the sponsor has some similar situation occurred where something happened that in the past during Borough, is it correct?
Well, I would say your last 3 superintendents that either just left or just fixing to leave, they all had that problem.
I guess my only concern is if that will limit the amount of workforce that we can recruit for those positions, will that play a factor on that?
Can I clarify that?
I will point out to Assemblymember Farrar, there is a part of the ordinance that says the assembly can waive application of the ordinance. So that means if the manager really got into a bind, or myself, or really got into a bind in terms of hiring somebody and we needed that person to oversee a former employer, we could come to the assembly and ask for permission to do that. But then the assembly would have to do it.
So we can make an exception, the assembly can make exception if something similar comes out. I'm okay with that, thank you.
When somebody online might want to say something.
Yeah, it's Rob. I just wanted to add that, it's going to be very unlikely. In the example, say we hire a road superintendent, that they will have worked with multiple contractors, and we have 3 road superintendent positions. So even if 2 of them were in this position, it would probably only be with 1 company apiece, and so they would manage contracts for employers that they've never worked for. And there's going to be enough positions available that we have enough positions available, I should say, 3 of them, that I don't think it's going to be an issue. I can't imagine ever hiring somebody that works for 2 or 3 of our contractors before that. That would be, I just can't even imagine that happening. So I don't think this is going to be an issue at all. I think it'll be very easy for the manager to, mitigate as we move forward. And, that's it.
Okay. Further discussion on the
Madam.
amendment. Yes, go ahead.
So I think that might be the area where we do have some trouble recruiting. I think I don't know what percentage, but I think we get, we ask for a lot of experience and like guys that work for contractors. So something number one on question, I think we could potentially be limiting our employees. Oh, and I guess I just feel like a year is enough separation. I don't, if you were to turn around and start supervising your contractor, then, maybe you're doing it just for that reason, but if you left for a year, I think that's long enough. But I guess you just, we'll find out how we do in terms of being able to recruit for those positions. And I don't want to see us overly limit our pool of people that are be able to recruit them to get qualified people.
Further discussion on the amendment. On the amendment, to change the 2 years to 1 year.
I can get the members in the room to vote. Thank you. Assemblymember Hale.
No.
Assemblymember Nowers.
Yes.
Assemblymember Yunt.
No.
Assemblymember Bernier.
No.
Madam Mayor, it failed with Assemblymember Nowers in support.
Thank you. So now we're back to the main motion as the ordinance has been presented to you, ordinance 23-030. Further discussion on that ordinance? Okay. Is there any objection to that ordinance passing? Okay. Hearing none, then the legislation passes. Next item on our agenda is audience participation. We do have some people that have signed up, but even if you haven't signed up, we will still give you an opportunity. So the first person to sign up is Arnie.
Mayor and Assembly people, my name is Arnie Hunter. We live up at mile 99 on the Glen Highway, which is 50 miles that way. And this is just concerning the 4th of July event that we hold every year. And we are 50 miles out of the core area, which is Glacier View is now post 89 to 119. And those 30 miles, we got a population of about 200 people. And so then this is about a special events permit that we're going back and forth with Jason. He's the manager there. And being that we're so far in the core area, I don't know if y'all are familiar with the special events permit. It's 11 pages of a lot of stuff. A lot of them we already have in place. We hire a Borough ambulance at $150 an hour for it to be there. We have so many other things already done. And so I guess what I'm asking for is an exemption to this special permit because we're so far out of the core area. A lot more stuff I can get into, but that's about it just in the couple of minutes I have. It is an F day to us, and that stands for freedom, family, faith, food, and fun. And we honor our veterans, the ones that are enlisted, the ones that are, well, we're doing it only because of our veterans. And this is all on private land, and if anybody's welcome to come out there. It's cleaner than after we have our 4th of July. It's just really wonderful and how the crowd takes care of it. It's a great crowd. We don't serve alcohol, and it's a family-oriented 4th of July, Freedom Day. Celebrating birthday every day is basically. So I guess, Mike, I'm just trying to have an exemption on a special permit.
Okay. And we can deal with that now. And so you have made the request, and so now it will be up to one of the assembly people at a future meeting to do something and talk to the manager about what might be available to you or something like that. Okay. That's it. That's it.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a safe trip home.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Normally we don't do it.
I think Ron Demers is somebody that's quit. And have you started him?
I'm going to be bringing something forward there.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Have a safe trip home, sir.
Thank you, Art.
Hey, Jackie. Oh, man, I was an assembly. Thank you. My name is Jackie Ivy Goforth. I happen to be a published author. I'm going to give you a little bit of history. In 1968, the Motion Picture Association brought out and put ratings on movies because people were worried about not having things with their children seeing things they weren't supposed to have, or they didn't want them to see. And the ratings were G, PG, R, and X. Now, in the 2000s, books didn't have that rating. Books have never had that rating. What they have is something called mature or adult ones, and then they have young adults, and then they have children. Now, in the year 2000, things got a little bit interesting with internet. Oh, prior to 2000, if you wanted to have an X-rated movie or an X-rated book, you had to go to an adult bookstore, or you had to go into the adult section of the Blockbuster video place. After 2000, when the internet kicked in, you could get your movies or you could get your books right online. And in 2004, the publisher started noticing this is a mass market paper book. It was my very first. It helps have a very big day ender, by the way. I was the #1 most searched book in the UK in May of 2005 because of that.
This is a trade paperback. This is what the ones that are erotica come out in. In the year 2000, the internet started putting out a whole bunch of books that were X-rated, and it became a huge market. And the publishers in New York noticed that, so they wanted to get a bit of that money. So they started printing something called eroticas. It was a whole different section. Now, eroticas were bigger. They're called a trade paperback. And in 2004, the publishers, the one I was with, Kensington, they put out their first volume, same month I came out, December 2004. Now, eroticas had their own section on the New York Times. They had their own section, not on the New York Times, but they had their own section in the booksellers, but they couldn't hit the New York Times, just like X-rated movies can't get in the Academy Awards. So the book industry decided to just kind of fold them in. They started folding them into romance. And they folded it into romance without putting erotica on it. So if you buy a romance right now, online or at the store, you're going to get, you could get an triple X-rated thing, and you have no idea. It's just not on there. Now, I had no idea that this had happened to the book publishers. I had no idea that young adults had now incorporated pornography. The book you have right now in front of you is called Let's Talk About It. As you can see, it is marketed and it's printed by Random House. I believe it's marketed to young adult, which is 14 to 17-year-olds. 14 to 17-year-olds. I want you to know, I have been speaking in front of Colorado City Council for the last 8 months about the LGBTQ and the Pride. And the reason why is because it's no longer just LGBTQ and Pride. It includes women of children. And the moment children got involved, so I want you to see what some of these books look like. For yourself. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Cindy?
Good evening, members of the Assembly, Madam Mayor. I am going to talk to you tonight about Title 11, Alaska Criminal Law. This is Section 11.61.128, Distribution of Indecent Material to Minors. A person commits a crime of distribution of indecent material to minors if the person being 18 years of age or older intentionally distributes or possesses with intent to distribute any material described in sections 2 and 3 of this subsection to either a child, that is a person knows is under 16 years of age, or another person that the person believes is a child under 16 years of age. The person knows that the material depicts the following actual or simulated conduct: sexual penetration, a lewd touching of a person's genitals, anus, or female breast, masturbation, bestiality, the lewd exhibition of a person's genitals, anus, or female breast, or sexual masochism or sadism. The material is harmful to minors. In this section, it is not defense that the victim is not actually under 16 years of age. In this section, harmful to minors means the average individual applying contemporary community standards would find that the material taken as a whole appeals to the, large interest or huge interest of sex by persons under 16 years of age. A reasonable person would find that the material taken as a whole lacks serious literary, artistic, educational, political, or scientific value for persons under 16 years of age, and the material depicts actual or simulated conduct in a way that is patently offensive to the prevailing standards in the adult community as a whole with respect to what is suitable for persons under age 16 years. Except as provided in Section E of this section, distribution of indecent material to minors is a Class C felony. Some of these books that we have in our school not our school, but it is the school libraries too, but then our public libraries fit this, that are aimed at young adults and children. That is, so let me continue. Distribution of indecent materials to minors is a Class B felony, and if the defendant has, at the time of the offense, required to register as a sex offender or a child kidnapper. Cindy, I didn't state my name, did I?
Yeah.
Cindy Hutchins.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address us? The assembly on any subject? You're welcome to address the assembly on any subject.
In the room, I'm compromised on the same issue these two ladies just mentioned. I don't have any prepared statements, but I'm just going to speak from the heart. I'm sorry, I'm Bruce Walton. If you don't know me, it's probably most people in this room, I think, nowadays. If a gentleman, not a gentleman, if a guy stands on the edge of the woods out here, a little kid's walking up, he exposes himself, he goes to prison, he goes to jail, and rightly so. If that same guy is standing there handing out Hustler magazine to these kids, he goes to jail, and rightly so. But we, not we, but we as a society are trying to make it normal for the distribution of this kind of filth in our schools and our libraries. It is made for grooming. I don't care how they try to church it up and make it sound pretty. This is about grooming children. That's all it is. I know a lot of gay and lesbian people that agree with me that this is unacceptable. Let me tell you something, a little child of that age, their mind can be so warped so easily. And that's why we have so many people that are sitting in prison today because somebody molested them at a young age and totally warped their mind. And they will go on to molest other people just like they were molested. And it starts with this kind of filth right here. I saw a young man, this is on a video, he was reading stuff that I wouldn't read in front of you ladies. I would be too embarrassed to read this stuff in front of mixed company. And this is being read in our libraries and in our schools. Folks, I'm going to say this very plainly, and you can throw me out of the room if you want to, but we've poked God in the eye for just about long enough, and we're begging for his judgment. It's about time we started saying no to this. Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to address the assembly? Do you have anybody online? We do not. On the last chance for anybody here before we close audience participation. Okay, close audience participation. The next item is our consent agenda. Does the assembly have anything to pull?
Resolution 2340, a resolution in support of having a social security office in the borough. AM 23022, approving the 95% design of Matsu Central School. AM 23023, authorization to renew a 3-year license agreement with the Environmental System Research Institute Incorporated in the amount of $335,118 for Geographic Information Services software. AM 23025, approving an amendment to the Lazy Mountain Road Service Area number 19 road improvement project list for 2023. AM 2326, authorization to renew with Tyler Technologies for the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024 in the amount of $262,800 for the financial software New World ERP. And AM 23027, authorization to renew a 3-year lease agreement with OpenDev Incorporated in the amount of $166,581.48 for Cardiograph Asset Management software.
I move to approve the consent agenda as read into the record by the clerk.
Is there any objection? Okay. Hearing none, and the consent agenda is approved. There is no unfinished business. There is no vetoes.
Introduction for public hearing on April 18th is ordinance 23.5. Ordinance 23024, ordinance 23026 with accompanying resolution 23033, ordinance 23028 with accompanying resolution ordinance 23029, ordinance 23031 with accompanying resolution 23039, and ordinance 23032 with accompanying resolution 23042.
Move the introduction.
Yes, I move to introduce the legislation as read into by the record by the clerk and set up the public hearing for April 18, 2023.
And for those of you that are following along on the agenda, ordinance 23-002 was pulled earlier in the meeting, and so that's the reason the clerk didn't read that one. So if you were following along, what happened. So, we have discussion on the introductions. Do you have anybody? Okay. Nope. Okay. Hearing none, then the legislation is introduced.
I move to confirm the mayor's recommendation as follows. Enhanced 911 Advisory Board, Andrew Bourne. Parks, Recreation and Trails Advisory Board, Susanna Lee McDuffie. Wastewater and Seepage Advisory Board, Danny Nolan.
Any discussion, any objection to the vacancy report? So the vacancy report is approved. There is no other new business. We do not have any referrals. There are no reconsiderations. We're ready for assembly and staff comment. Mr. Attorney, we'll start with you. Comment, sir? We made up for it by giving you one in a week from now. Senator Person, a few comments.
I'd just like to thank the ladies and gentlemen who were talking about the stuff in the library, because I have a 4.5-year-old grandson and a 9-year-old granddaughter. If anybody ever puts this in front of those kids, I'll hunt them down, whether it's a principal, a school board member, a school district member, I don't care who you are. You get this stuff in front of my kids, you're going to deal with hell because I don't know. I can't bear this. I can't. These pictures and these little kids in there, for God's sakes. What's going on? I'm sorry, but I am really passionate about this. If you need help, give me a call.
Senator Person, two comments.
I'm right there with you as far as today. Handing you this, I was never pissed off that I got into this. I don't look at this stuff. This is not, don't bring this to me again, please. So if we have such a problem going on here, we should fix this. I don't know how to fix it, but it should be fixed. There's no way that I want my kids or grandkids to be raised around this. It's not, I don't accept it. I don't know what to do. Maybe management has an idea. Maybe we can help the school board. Maybe we can help libraries. Maybe we all get together and go over to the libraries. Do whatever we need to do because I don't need it. And I know that my kids don't need it. My grandkids don't need it. And I'm pretty sure the rest of them. Thanks for everybody who spoke. The gentleman that's not here, but I appreciate it. And we've passed the meeting that we had with the school board, the joint meeting. Also, this issue was brought up. I had a chance to go to Wasilla High School library where I got to spend a couple hours with Graham doing things differently. And I'm hoping to bring her later to speak to us about it, see if there's changes that she's doing. But this book was not there. I wanted to say thank you for bringing it to our attention. attention. I'm guessing these blurred out images, probably not blurred out in a book system, I'm guessing. So if we as adults have to work out and still be discussed by it, you guys have my support to whatever you can do. My question is, I guess, now issue been brought up very clearly and doing it, and this community agrees on that. You already have vocally open team members who will support things that will make these proper changes. My question would only be for the attorneys, if we as assembly body, do we have any revision of what we can do about it so that we don't just make noise but actually do something about it to protect our children. So from that perspective, I want to have not just a discussion but action to be taken about it, and you guys can count on my support. But thank you everyone, and we did it. You guys got some presentation here, and like I said previously, that we're willing to use some we'll have a ideal champion here, and I'm ready to gather them, and thank all of you.
All right. Assemblyperson Hale, comments, final comments?
No comment, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Yacht, online, comments?
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to take a minute and talk these things to our attention with the city's votes. And I will remind everybody that the Assembly cannot take action on this. This is outside of our jurisdiction, as it should be. This is a school board thing that they have to take up. We have an amazing school board. Honestly, I think we have the best school board in the entire darn country. And they've shown that in the last couple of years here. I think they'll get this handled, and we can support them morally, but we cannot support them with legislation. So let's let them handle that, and I know they'll do a great job. For me personally, having 4 kids still in the district and 2 others that are now college age, I can say that I hope that we can return to the good old days where we just focus on education and not any sort of this extra crazy sexual education type stuff. Let's just focus on apples and education and not get outside of the box. But that's just my personal opinion. Other than that, it was a great evening. I appreciate everybody coming out. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor, we do have some borough libraries. So, school libraries also, but there is some borough libraries, and I don't know how much jurisdiction you have in that area. And so, yeah.
That's correct. I apologize. I was speaking specifically to the ones in our schools. But, yeah, and if anybody on the assembly wanted to take up the borough one, I would look at that with them. So for sure, I would definitely like to participate in that. If anybody would so wish to pick that up. But again, I apologize. I was speaking specifically to the our schools.
And some of the person too, did you have some other comments?
I was wondering if we could just have, for just a moment, have the attorney weigh in on borough libraries and what as a body do we have power to do to our libraries.
Okay, yeah.
Oh my God.
I think the mayor addressed it. The libraries that are already are off, and ultimately the borough decides if there's even a library. So I have to dig into a lot of issues here. I've got the manager and we reporting somebody to be reporting back to NRI but the rural libraries, let's just acknowledge from the news. So the borough does have libraries itself. The Farmers Library, the Westlake Library,
Because I understand that the borough owns the school buildings, right? Yeah. So if we own the buildings, why? I have to watch what I'm saying. If we own the buildings, why the places can't we decide what goes in? And that's just makes sense to me.
I see the attorney has raised his hand.
because the Supreme Court of the state of Alaska has already ruled that the internal day-to-day functionings of the schools are the jurisdiction of the school. And will provide you the case.
Yeah, because that means it can use it.
I would manage it. About 5 is good. I would say about 5. Yeah, I'd be more willing to propose anything I can do and start working with the attorney's office and my Don's office on this legislation. And I hope that I have public support and also assembly to do whatever we can from what's within our jurisdiction to sponsor to make it easily possible. That's all good.
And then, Assembly person hours.
I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person tonight. I just congrats to the Eagle Scouts, and I'm really excited for the Brian Reddington ceremony. It's pretty cool, and it's neat to have a Reddington win the Iditarod. And then just nice to nice to have a meeting. So hope everybody has a good week.
Yeah, so since I'm getting direction and I'm not exactly sure what it is, I figured I might as well say something. So I do want to make one distinction when we talk about library books, and I think there is a difference between the 5 public libraries that the borough oversees and school libraries. My understanding is the book in question here is not in the child section. There's a different level of so there is a distinction and a difference in oversight when a parent sends a child into a public library from a school library. Now, I'm happy to come up with a list if the assembly wants to provide direction on what books shouldn't be in a library, but generally speaking, when we look at this, I think there's definitely a difference in terms of what a parent would allow their child to see in a public library. So we've kind of stayed out of the fray on that because we recognize that parents are in a position to control what their children check out in a borough library. So I guess I'll just leave it at that for now. The attorney and I will discuss this further because obviously it's
March 30, Great Land Trust.
It's just going to be a challenge
Purchase
because I don't know where it
187
is
acres.
now. I'm not going to speak to school district libraries because, like the attorney said, I think that's not in our lane, and I'm going to try to stick very closely to what I think is in our lane. But I think it's reasonable to assume the assembly has authority to determine if you want to wade into that, what books are in what borough.
So the borough has control over, parents have control over what the kids check out in the rural library, but they don't have control over what the kids check out in the school library. Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm going to stay in my lane and speak to borough libraries. I'm not going to speak to school libraries because I mean, I understand what you're saying. I'm just looking at what's within our purview.
I don't want to stay in my lane, just so you know.
Listen to you, may I add a little more?
I'll go. To Mayor, to Assembly Mickey. Actually, when I went for the 2 hour, I was talking about not research time of going to the library at the school. I found out that librarian has a project annually, and they can use it however they want for whichever books they want. It doesn't have to go through any kind of approval or anything like that. They can just purchase whatever they feel fit and just put on the shelf. So this is something the school board does need to address to the committee or something that there's a requirement that for approval that needs to go. As of now, there isn't, and librarian gets to choose whichever direction he or she wants to go and push whichever books without any approval, which was very shocking to me, but that's what I found out. That's just kind of answer that question.
Assembly person Demir, I don't think we've gotten party comments from you yet.
No, but I am so on board with the books there. A couple months ago when this story broke out on Watchmen, and it was in 5 libraries: Juneau, Anchorage, Palmer, Willow, Fairbanks, and
we called up. It was in Willow, but somebody had checked it out, and at that point, it hadn't come back. I don't know if it just got checked out and would never reappear. Sometimes that happens. But you know, there's a lot of power in prayer, and I think as a borough, we should all come together, take a day, and everybody just pray on stuff like this, stuff like AC 105. You know, soften our tenants' hearts and minds. And you know, we need a revival. This crap, this is going to take us right down the toilet. It really will. And I just want to thank God right now for all the blessings that He bestows on us, for being able to live here in the valley, be able to live amongst Christians and to honor you, Lord. And we want to be a blessing. We don't want to be a curse to you, Lord. And we just pray this, Lord, that you come up with the answers. You always will. In Jesus' name, amen.
There is no executive session, and there's no objection. We will adjourn at 10:31. So for your entertainment, we have this going on in the hallways about how long the meeting's gonna go. And I want to tell you that everybody missed it tonight, because the earliest was gonna be 8 o'clock. So, everybody have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone.
You will now be disconnected.